Processes in an operating system must be protected from one another's activities. To provide such protection, we can use various mechanisms to ensure that only processes that have gained proper authorization from the operating system can operate on the files, memory segments, CPU, and other resources of a system. Protection refers to a mechanism for controlling the access of programs, processes, or users to the resources defined by a computer system. This mechanism must provide a means for specifying the controls to be imposed, together with a means of enforcement. We distinguish between protection and security, which is a measure of confidence that the integrity of a system and its data will be preserved. A computer can be viewed as a collection of processes and objects. The need-to-know principle states that a process should only have access to those objects it needs to accomplish its task, and furthermore only in the modes for which it needs access and only during the time frame when it needs access. The modes available for a particular object may depend upon its type. A protection domain specifies the resources that a process may access. Each domain defines a set of objects and the types of operations that may be invoked on each object. An access right is the ability to execute an operation on an object. A domain is defined as a set of pairs, as shown below. Note that some domains may be disjoint while others overlap. The multics system uses a complex system of rings, each corresponding to a different protection domain, as shown below. 1. Rings are numbered from 0 to 7, with outer rings having a subset of the privileges of the inner rings. 2. Each file is a memory segment, and each segment description includes an entry that indicates the ring number associated with that segment, as well as read, write, and execute privileges. 3. Each process runs in a ring, according to the current ring number, a counter associated with each process. 4. A process operating in one ring can only access segments associated with higher, farther out, rings, and then only according to the access bits. Processes cannot access segments associated with lower rings. 5. Overall, this approach is more complex and less efficient than other protection schemes. The model of protection that we have been discussing can be viewed as an access matrix, in which columns represent different system resources and rows represent different protection domains. Entries within the matrix indicate what access that domain has to that resource. Domain switching can be easily supported under this model, simply by providing switch access to other domains. The ability to copy writes is denoted by an asterisk, indicating that processes in that domain have the right to copy that access within the same column, i.e. for the same object. There are two important variations. If the asterisk is removed from the original access right, then the right is transferred, rather than being copied. This may be termed a transfer right as opposed to a copy right. One of an operating system's duties is to provide a trustful security architecture to protect user information from threats coming from all aspects of the information world. Trojan horses, viruses, and other threats are all aimed at users' personal information. Therefore, the concept of access control has been introduced to system security area years ago. Typically, it guarantees that only processes with proper authorization are allowed to access certain system resources. Access control has become the foundation of system security architecture. Butler-Lampson's original access control matrix is an early model of access control. Lampson's paper claims that a computer system can be abstracted as a set of objects O, which is the set of resources to be protected, and a set of subjects S, which consists of all active entities. For a single active entity to access objects in a set O, it must be assigned a set of rights sufficient to access the target objects. Access control matrix could be implemented as access control list, a list of permissions attached to an object in computer security. Discretionary access control, DAC, is an implementation of access control matrices, which stores them sparsely by columns. In DAC policy, the owners of objects have discretion as to who is allowed to access them. It is always implemented as a role-based system, where we have subjects such as user, group and others, and read/write/execute rights. For usual DAC implementation, the controls are discretionary in the sense that a subject with a certain access rights is capable of passing that permission on to any other subject. That is, the owner of a file can pass its read or write access permission to other users existing in the system. Mandatory access control, MAC, refers to the type of access control by which the operating system defines policies, constraining the ability of a subject or initiator to access or generally perform some sort of operation on an object or target. MAC also allows loading new access control policies into system, which can provide protections to a narrow subset of the system. Modern operating systems always provide a solid role-based security model for protection system resources. Some of the enhanced systems, such as FreeBSD, also try to introduce mandatory access control frameworks to enhance their security. Access control becomes a really important topic which should be considered while designing a system. It is not just about controlling user access, but also should be able to control the access of users running applications. This protection domain project augments the usual DAC framework to provide the user effective monitoring and control of specific, which ensures the user's processes may access only a limited list of files. This framework provides a bidirectional communication channel between restricted applications and their user, which could arm user with abilities to deny or partially agree restricted processes accessing request. When properly used, user should be able to comfortably and safely execute arbitrary binaries without having to worry about how they affect the system. We believe that protection domain, the framework introduced in this report, will be proved to a useful and helpful addition to enhance systems access control ability and of course, system security. System protection is a feature that regularly creates and saves information about your computer's system files and settings. System protection also saves previous versions of files that you've modified. It saves these files in restore points, which are created just before significant system events, such as the installation of a program or device driver. They're also created automatically once every 7 days if no other restore points were created in the previous 7 days, but you can create restore points manually at any time. System protection is automatically on for the drive that Windows is installed on. System protection can only be turned on for drives that are formatted using the NTFS file system. There are 2 ways that you can take advantage of system protection. 1. If your computer is running slowly or isn't working properly, you can use System Restore to return your computer's system files and settings to an earlier point in time using a restore point. 2. If you accidentally modify or delete a file or folder, you can restore it to a previous version that's saved as part of a restore point. System Restore. The System Files portion of System Protection is referred to as System Restore and has been around since Windows ME and XP. It backs up the system and Windows files, such as programs, settings, drivers, and the registry. Microsoft lists the exact file types that are monitored and backed up. If Windows becomes corrupt or unstable, you can easily restore the system files from an earlier point in time by rolling back to a previous restore point. For example, say you install the software and driver for your mobile phone so you can transfer files between your computers. But after the installation you get the blue screen of death, BSOD, every time Windows starts due to an incompatibility with the driver. Because you can't get into Windows, you can't do a simple uninstall of the software and driver. However, you can roll back to the restore point created before the installation via the Advanced Boot Options menu before Windows starts. Once you've rolled back, Windows starts normally and you can contact the vendor about the driver issue. Previous versions. The Personal Files portion of System Protection is referred to as Previous Versions or Shadow Copy. This feature debuted in Windows Vista, but wasn't fully supported in the Home editions until Windows 7. It backs up your personal files, such as documents, photos, music, videos, and most other files that aren't included in the System Restore backups. Windows saves previous versions of files that have been modified since the last restore point was created. For example, say you started working on a document Monday night and saved it when you were done. Then a restore point was automatically created Tuesday morning. Then you open the document Tuesday night, accidentally delete a portion of the document, and then save it. Without the previous version's feature, the portion you deleted would be gone forever. But you can simply right-click the document, click Restore Previous Versions, and open the version of THR document saved during the restore point created earlier that morning. You could then restore that copy to replace the current one, save it as a new document, or simply copy the portion you deleted and paste it into the current copy. Operating systems generally identify/authenticates users using following 3 ways. 1. Username/password. User need to enter a registered username and password with operating system to login into the system. Password with operating system to login into the system. 2. User card/key. User need to punch card in card slot, or enter key generated by key generator in option provided by operating system to login into the system. 3. User attribute fingerprint/eye retina pattern/signature. User need to pass his/her attribute via designated input device used by operating system to login into the system. One-time password are implemented in various ways. 1. Random numbers. Users are provided cards having numbers printed along with corresponding alphabets. System asks for numbers corresponding to few alphabets randomly chosen. 2. Secret key. User are provided a hardware device which can create a secret ID mapped with user ID. System asks for such secret ID which is to be generated every time prior to login. 3. Network password. Some commercial applications send one-time password to user on registered mobile/email which is required to be entered prior to login. Following is the list of some well-known program threats. 1. Trojan horse. Such program traps user login credentials and stores them to send to malicious user who can later on log into computer and can access system resources. 2. Trapdoor. If a program which is designed to work as required, have a security hole in its code and perform illegal action without knowledge of user, then it is called to have a trapdoor. 3. Logic bomb. Logic bomb is a situation when a program misbehaves only when certain conditions met, otherwise it works as a genuine program. It is harder to detect. 4. Virus. Virus, as name suggests, can replicate themselves on computer system. They are highly dangerous and can modify/delete user files, crash systems. A virus is generally a small code embedded in a program. As user accesses the program, the virus starts getting embedded in other files/programs and can make system unusable for user. Following is the list of some well-known system threats. 1. Worm. Worm is a process which can choke down a system performance by using system resources to extreme levels. A worm process generates its multiple copies where each copy uses system resources, prevents all other processes to get required resources. Worm's processes can even shut down an entire network. 2. Port scanning. Port scanning is a mechanism or means by which a hacker can detect system vulnerabilities to make an attack on the system. 3. Denial of service. Denial of service attacks normally prevents user to make legitimate use of the system. For example, user may not be able to use internet if denial of service attacks browser's content settings.